I have another question for you. Would you revoke the visa of someone in the United States who published claims that, quote, Jews are an untrustworthy and dangerous group? Yes or no?
We will revoke the visa of anyone who's in this country as a guest who's here to stir up trouble.
Are you going to revoke the visa of somebody who made that?
I mean, the case, I'll look at it. I'm looking to get crazy people out of our country.
Actually, it's not just about revoking. You actually, Secretary Rubio, excuse me, reclaiming my time.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Today's breakdown is an absolute inferno. A congressional hearing that started as routine questioning, but exploded into a full political meltdown. The second Representative Pramila Jayapal tried taking on Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Spoiler, she did not come out on top. Before we dive into this firestorm, hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss these no-holds-barred breakdowns. Now, let's get into it.
On March 21st, 2025, the State Department approved the revocation of a student visa for Rümeysa Öztürk, a Turkish citizen who is a graduate student at Tufts University, apparently simply for writing an op-ed. According to an internal State Department memo, you took this action under your discretionary authority to revoke visas, and soon after you revoked her visa, armed and masked plainclothes officers snatched Ms. Öztürk off the street and transported her to a prison in Louisiana. Mr. Secretary, do you really think that Ms. Öztürk's op-ed results in a foreign policy consequence for the United States?
I believe that case involves someone whose visa we never would have granted had we known ahead of time.
I'm not asking you that question. I'm asking you if you think an op-ed, but that's exactly, in fact, what happened. The State Department wrote a memo concluding that you did not have sufficient grounds to revoke Ms. Öztürk's visa. There was no evidence showing that she'd engaged in any activities that were a threat to national security. And in fact, in May, a federal court ordered Ms. Öztürk's release from detention, noting that the sole basis for the government's detention appeared to be the fact that she co-authored this opinion piece in the Tufts newspaper in March of 2024. Where in the Constitution does it say that the Secretary of State can override the First Amendment protections of free speech? Is there a footnote that I missed somewhere?
There's no constitutional right to a student visa.
So, but is there a constitutional right? Does it say somewhere that Marco Rubio gets to determine which speech is appropriate and revoke student visas based on what you think constitutes free speech?
There's a statute that says the Secretary of State gets to determine whether someone is a threat. We deny visas every day all over the world.
Do you think that the Immigration and Nationality Act trumps the Constitution of the United States, Mr. Secretary?
Well, Congress can always change the law if you want, but I'm telling you, while I have the authority, I will continue to revoke the visas of these people that come here to tear this country apart.
You said that, Mr. Secretary. Let me reclaim my time because you are talking about revoking student visas based on what somebody says, and that means that you are trumping the legal supreme court, the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution of the United States.
No one has a right to a student visa.
Mr. Rubio, why did the administration need to use masked, armed, unidentified agents to whisk somebody off the street and deny her counsel for almost 24 hours after her arrest?
Well, you'll have to ask the agencies that did that work. I'm not responsible for that. I'm responsible for revoking the visas of these people that come to tear this country apart.
I'm talking about this particular case where you revoked the student visa of a Turkish citizen who was a graduate student who wrote an op-ed that you didn't like. And suddenly you allowed for masked men to whisk her off the street. And you have multiple jobs, apparently. You're the national security advisor as well. So don't tell me it's not your job. Who snatches her off the street?
We don't do the snatching, but I can tell you we do the visa revocations.
Let me ask you about the national security consequences of people, masked men on the streets, snatching people off the streets. If these are legitimate law enforcement agents carrying out proper arrests, why are they hiding their identities?
Because then radical crazies will try to hurt them.
So you think that U.S. agents who have almost always gone without face coverings, even when they're arresting some of the country's most dangerous criminals, suddenly have so much to fear from a graduate student who wrote an op-ed that they need to be masked? Is that
accurate? Law student was a guest in the United States on a student visa. No one's entitled to a student visa.
So you revoked her student visa based on an op-ed which trumps the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution.
Someone's coming up here to stir up problems on our campus. We're going to revoke their visa.
I have another question for you. Would you revoke the visa of someone in the United States who published claims that, quote, Jews are an untrustworthy and dangerous group? Yes or no?
We will revoke the visa of anyone who's in this country as a guest guest who's here to stir up trouble.
Are you going to revoke the visa of somebody who made that?
Send me the case. I'll look at it. I'm looking to get crazy people out of our country.
Actually, it's not just about revoking. Secretary Rubio, excuse me, reclaiming my time. Can you explain to me why the Trump administration granted refugee status to Charles Kleinhaus, the white Afrikaner who tweeted that exact statement that I just said? There's the case.
That's not a visa.
You who granted that person to enter the United States.
That's a totally different process. That's someone that applied here through a totally different process. Student visas are a privilege.
Secretary Rubio,
deny them all the time, and we'll revoke them.
You revoked a visa based on an op-ed, and then you allowed for masked men to snatch somebody off the street.
Your time's expired. That's your claim.
1.1.1. Jayapal charges in hot, ready to lecture, criticize, and full-on grandstand. She tries painting the administration as some free speech stomping monster over a Turkish student's visa getting yanked after co-authoring an op-ed. She waves papers around like she's uncovering Watergate 2.0. But here's the problem. She brought feelings, not facts. Rubio doesn't just answer. He straight up obliterates her whole narrative. He drops the line that echoed through the room. There is no constitutional right to a student visa. Jayapal's face, pure gold, priceless shock. She built this big dramatic First Amendment sob story, and Rubio nuked it with one calm sentence. He reminds her, and everybody watching, that student visas are privileges, not locked-in constitutional guarantees. Then Jayapal tries ramping it up, demanding why masked agents detained the student, like she's scripting a dystopian thriller. Rubio stays ice cool, unbothered. Agents wear masks to protect themselves from radical crazies. Jayapal looked straight stunned, like she expected him to crumble. Instead, he stood there solid as steel. It was like watching someone swing at a brick wall, and the wall swinging back harder. Jayapal makes one last desperate push, throwing in comparisons to other cases. Rubio brushes it off like dust, different process, totally irrelevant. Nice try. He cuts through her weak analogy like it's wet tissue. Jayapal showed up with the plastic spoon. Rubio brought a damn chainsaw. As she kept raising her voice, getting louder, more dramatic, more frustrated, Rubio just doubled down, calm, and crushing. He made it crystal clear. If foreign nationals on visas bring instability, extremism, or trouble to U.S. soil, their welcome's over. No apologies, no second thoughts. Meanwhile, Jayapal looked like she was arguing with a fortress and losing bad. Every swing she took bounced right back and smacked her harder. By the end, this wasn't a hearing anymore. It was a straight political beatdown. Jayapal rolled in with theatrics and outrage. Rubio rolled in with authority, law, and cold logic. Result: Jayapal left outgunned, outmaneuvered, and completely overwhelmed. Note: this heated exchange occurred during a May 21, 2025, House Foreign Affairs Committee hearing. Jayapal questioned Rubio over the revocation of Rumisa Öztürk student visa, a Tufts University PhD student whose visa was canceled amid allegations of activity supporting Hamas and undermining U.S. foreign policy, tied to pro-Palestinian advocacy, including the op-ed. Rubio emphasized that non-citizens on visas are guests without absolute rights to remain if deemed a threat, and defended ongoing revocations of hundreds of such visas. So, drop your take in the comments. Did Jayapal get absolutely crushed? Or did she get crushed? Thanks for watching. Smash that like, leave a comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.